Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome on stage Mr. Flip Wilson! Flip!
When I was thinking about what I'd do, I asked myself, should I do any racial material this set? And a voice in the back of my mind said, lighten up, damn. Then another voice said, one more time. So I decided, why not? Why should I be hesitant about expressing my opinion? Why shouldn't I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, we got to do something about the Indians. The Indians aren't ready yet. Well, quite often when I say that, people feel it's a harsh statement. But how harsh it is depends on how we look at it. Let's ask ourselves a question like, do you want to build a $50,000 home and have some guy put a wigwam next door? I'm not against Indians. I don't want anyone to leave here feeling that I'm against Indians. There have been Indians that I've admired, guys I've looked up to, fellows who, in my opinion, didn't let the fact that they were an Indian hold them back. They were aggressive, they went out, exerted that aggressiveness, and made a name for themselves. Guys like Tonto, Little Beaver, those guys. I tried to help an Indian once. He didn't appreciate it. He made a smart remark about colored people, and I got mad. I got mad because I like colored people. In fact, the colored lady raised me. Some of my best friends are colored people. Let me tell you the way the entire situation came up. It's last year. Beautiful day last year. I'm standing around. I didn't have anything to do. And I say to myself, you ain't got nothing to do. I'm walking down the street. There's a restaurant. I enter. I see an Indian sitting there in the booth. I said, damn, there's an Indian. I'm surprised because this looked like the guy off the nickel. That's who I thought it was. I said, there's the guy off the nickel. And I wanted to get to meet him and be his friend. Go places with him. Let my friends see me with him. Then they'll say, that's Flip Wilson. He hangs out with an Indian, the guy on the nickel. I'm going to pick up the check. Maybe we'll have a drink and go to a movie. Maybe we'll go see how the West was won. Indian should like that. So I approach him there at the table. I say, good afternoon, sir. You're an Indian, aren't you? He said, yeah, that's right. How'd you guess? I said, those feathers, baby. He said, you're either an Indian or a chicken. He said his name was Henry. I know the guy's lying because Indians don't have names like Henry. Who the hell ever heard of Henry Indian? But I'm going to overlook this because I want to help him. So I pull him aside and say, Henry, come here. I say, Henry, look. I say, Henry, you Indians have got to get organized and start making some progress, like the colored people are doing. You know what I mean, Henry? So you Indians got a rough deal, Henry. You guys damn near got wiped out. So there are only 7 or 8 Indians left, Henry. You're the second Indian I've seen in 9 years. I said, Henry, the trouble with you guys is that pipe. I said, I know what you got in that pipe. I'm not going to tell him because I don't want to see you go to jail. But I know what's in the pipe, Henry. I said, if you guys had put that pipe down and stopped and think for a minute, you'd have realized what was happening when the Pilgrims ran that Thanksgiving game on you. Remember that come over to dinner thing, Henry? That was beautiful. Come on over to dinner. Come on. You guys come running over. They spread a little table out, give you little plates, some turkey, little potato salad, slice of pie, glass of Kool-Aid. So that's all they gave you. He said they never invited you back, though, did they? He said they never invited you people to dinner. Now I'm mad. I'm mad because I don't have to take this from a damn Indian. I'm not going to let him get away with this. If I let him get away with this, next he'll want to marry my sister. So I ask him, I say, Henry, why should they invite us to dinner when we're doing the cooking? I told him, I said, the biggest thing that happened to you Indians is when they put you on the nickel. They put a buffalo on the other side, Henry. I said, if you guys belong to the NAACP, we'd have you on the quarter. Maybe we'll change the name, Henry. Maybe we'll call it the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People Immediately and the Indians on a Gradual Basis. So we're making progress, Henry. We got guys like Ralph Bunch, international mediator. That's all Ralph does. He goes all over the world looking for arguments. So they pay Ralph for that. Jimmy Brown was playing football then. Jimmy got that ball. Willie Mays hits those home runs. Willie comes down to that stadium in the afternoon. Willie's sharp. Willie don't come down there unless he's sharp. Got that lump in his pocket, that 100G from last year. When he comes up the back, there's 20,000 girls in the stand screaming at Willie. Hit that ball, Willie! Hit that ball, honey! What you say? Home run, right out of that park. Said an Indian never hit a home run. Isn't that right? And he said, yeah, you're right, but I never heard of anyone playing cowboys and color people. So after the fight, big fight, I panicked. You know, don't let this get out, but I found out that I'm prejudiced. I like it too, it's fun. It's fun, everybody needs a little recreation. Everybody dislikes something or somebody. I don't like midgets. I'm prejudiced against midgets. I don't care what nationality they are, I don't like them. If I see a midget, I'm gonna smack him right in the mouth. Pow! I've always wanted to fight a midget. You gotta know how to fight a midget. That's not as easy as it sounds. A buddy of mine had a fight with a midget and he lost. Damn midget bit him. You know midgets aren't any higher than that. I don't trust them. Every time I pass a midget, I say, watch out! I wore this suit because I wanted you to see this suit. It's my favorite suit. Well, it's one of my favorite suits. I call this my riot suit. I like this. I got this suit in Cleveland. Right out of the window. Right out of the window. I got it, sir. Now, I want to say that I wasn't in the riot officially. I wasn't in the riot officially. It was a matter that, and on every occasion that I'd appeared in Cleveland, the citizens of Cleveland had come to see me, so when they were rioting, I went to pay my respects. You know, I'm walking down the street there. I'd never seen a riot. I'm walking down the street looking at the riot, you know. Then I saw all the trucks out there from the local, you know, television taking pictures for network, and I thought, passed through my mind, you're an entertainer. You don't have to have as much national exposure as you can get. So I wanted to look nice, and the window was open. I don't know who threw the brick. The window was open. So I put the suit on. I wanted to look nice in front of the cameras. Nothing looks worse than a raggedy rioter. I put the suit on, I waved into the camera. I didn't get to do any lines. The guy wouldn't let me do anything. He said I could wave and mug, no lines. I waved and mugged. I liked it. It was nice. It was a vest that went with the suit. I wanted to get that, too. And a pair of shoes. I liked those. And I promised my girlfriend I'd get her a color television. I couldn't carry all that stuff. I had to leave some of it so I could help my uncle carry the couch. We got that home, it was the wrong color. We had it to go back, you know, and the National Guard had gotten there by then. That's a rough thing, running through the National Guard with a couch on your back. I used to think that I wanted to be a singer. You know that? I used to think I wanted to be a singer when I noticed the singers got all the girls. You know, girls like those singers. They come out with their shiny suits, and they lean over the front of the stage and sing to the girls. You ever watch those guys? A lot of times those guys spit when they sing. You ever notice that? A lot of times they spit on the girls when they sing. Girls like that, too. Girls like for those guys to spit on them. That's what makes girls swoon, that spit. It's been that way all through history, even back during the time of the first great singer. First great singer musician that was, well, it was Little David. Remember Little David? Had the fight with Goliath? I bet Goliath remembers David. Yeah, David was, that's why the fight came about. Because Goliath was jealous about the popularity that David had with the girls. See, David was a singer. Played harp, he'd sing, and wherever David be appearing, all the girls would come in the club and they'd crowd around the front of the stage and scream at David. They'd scream things like, "Play on the harp, little David. Play on that harp, honey. What you say? Go on, little David." Yeah, David was something like the Ray Charles of that time. David had 3 hit albums out. 3 hit albums, big hits. His first hit was an album called David Jams, Part 1. Second hit was David Jams, Part 2. His third and biggest hit was an album called Jam David. People had to really like you in David's time to buy your records because there weren't any record players then. There weren't any record players then. They take the albums home and sit there and read the covers and say, damn, I sure wish somebody invented a record player. In fact, David's group was so popular they did a world tour. World tour. In those days, the entire known world was about the size of Vermont. Most of the fellas stood around on the corners and said, small world, ain't it? When he returned from the world tour, David's group got a job working on the boat rides on Saturday. Noah had a boat. Noah would give boat rides. The boat would be crowded. Secret of the crowds would be Noah's advertising. Noah believed in strong advertising. The week before the ride, he'd put placards up all over town. And the placards would say, boat ride Saturday. It's gonna rain. People see that it's gonna rain and buy those tickets and get on that boat. Business was booming on the boat, too. Noah's making money, David's group's working. Then Noah went off his cookie. He started bringing animals on the boat. And the word got around town. Pretty soon all the fellas start saying, I'm not going on that boat. He's bringing animals on the boat. I'm not going to pay $3 and go on there with an animal. I was on there with a pig last week. So they all started hanging out in a little jazz club, a place called Lazarus Bar. Lazarus Bar was right across from the arena. And in those days, on Sunday, everyone went to the arena so they could watch the Christians and the Lions. Those Lions were undefeated. You couldn't get a bet on a Christian in the arena. Christians had a great coach, but the team was shaky. One Sunday, everyone leaves the arena. They go over to Lazarus' place. David's group's on the bandstand. He's playing his big hit, Rock of Ages. It was a big hit for David. David made a lot of money from that record. His girlfriend, Bathsheba, standing near the stage screaming, play on the harp, little David. Play on that harp, honey. What you say? Go on, little David. Goliath came in with his gang. Goliath had a gang called the Philistines. They had leather jackets with their names on the back, football helmets. They drink a lot of beer. They had motorcycle helmets. That's right, motorcycle helmets. No motorcycle, just the helmets. And Goliath started heckling David. And he comes up, he starts yelling, sing happy birthday, little David. Sing happy birthday. David said, knock it off, Goliath. Man, I'm trying to do a show. These people paid their money. They want to see a show. Now, knock that off. I'll go get the police. And Goliath said, you gonna get mad because I asked you to sing a little old jive happy birthday for me and the Philistines? If I'd have slipped you $5, you'd have sung it. David said, I'm going to get the police. When David turned his back to head go toward the door, Goliath grabbed a club. He's running up behind David. He's going to hit him with that club. What does a giant need with a club? Can you imagine what it's like to have a giant chase you with a club? Doesn't take a giant long to catch up with you. He's running up behind him. Hit him with the club. Try to tear his head off. Bathsheba saw this, and she screamed to warn David. She yelled, watch out, David. You better watch out, David. I'm telling you now. He running up behind you, and he got a club. Gonna hit you. Try to tear your head off. David whirled around at the slingshot. Zap! Gave Goliath a zap with a rock right between the eyes. And Goliath fell and died. And all the people started laughing because David leaned over and said, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. I've been looking at the people down front. You know that? Generally, the audience never considers that when you come to see the entertainer, that the entertainer's looking at you also. I've been looking at you people. And what makes me give it so much thought is I notice the audiences are getting better looking. You know what? You people really look nice. Generally, I find that the ugly people sit down front. I don't know why it's that way, but it seems as soon as the doors open, the ugly people come in and they give the maitre d' a lot of money and they rush down front. And that has a lot to do with how the show goes, because it's very difficult to be funny with a bunch of damn ugly people sitting there staring at you. Now, I should say that you people deserve to be complimented because there are a lot of nice-looking people here. Now, in being perfectly honest, I have to admit that there are a few ugly people. There are a few ugly people sprinkled here and there. I should point one out. But I won't do that. That's not necessary. The ugly people know who they are. And the people sitting next to them know who they are. Just take a moment, like when things calm down and just check out the guy next to you. I find that ugly people are ashamed of being ugly. Why? Why be ashamed? If you're ugly, that's how you look. And you're going to be ugly a long time. Personally, I like ugly girls. I prefer ugly girls. You marry an ugly girl, you know what you got. You marry a nice-looking girl, she starts getting ugly, and you start holding back on going home. Got a bad-looking chick home, you get smashed. You go home, and she start looking good. Just to show you, the other evening I tried an experiment. Maybe we could try it now. I tried an experiment where I took a moment to see if there was one ugly person willing to stand up into the light and say, I admit publicly that I know from the bottom of my heart that I am ugly. Nobody stood up. Nobody stood up. I tried to get my manager's old lady to stand up. She wouldn't stand up. And he got mad. Yeah, check the time. I don't want to stay on too long. That's dangerous, you know, staying on too long. A lot of comics don't realize that. I was on a show a few weeks ago with a rock and roll group, and before the show, I'd been given 15 minutes. So I go on, and I had a thing going with the audience. A beautiful thing. So, like I said, I got wrapped up, and I stayed on about 55 minutes. I was out there about 50. Then the audience got very quiet, very quiet. You could have heard a pin drop in the room. Very quiet. And I say to myself, what's wrong? And a voice in the back of my mind said, you've been on too long. And I didn't want the audience to realize that I had suddenly become aware that I'd been on too long and that I might panic. So to keep my front up, I stayed out there about another 30 minutes. The audience was very cool. They sat there. They didn't laugh or applaud. They sat there, and then when I finished, they got up, paid their checks, and went out. When I went to the parking lot to get in my car, the audience, 400 people, were hiding in the parking lot. Crouched down behind the cars. And they attacked me. But I got a complete description of one, and I gave it to the police, and they caught the guy. That's why I got a new manager. Everyone has idols, right? People who inspired them and drove them on to greater horizons. As a kid, my idol, and he's still my idol. Of all the great American heroes, my idol was Christopher Columbus. What a great thing that was, discovering America. I wouldn't have found it. I don't know where you people would have been. I wouldn't have found it. You know, discovering America wasn't a thing that Columbus had gotten wrapped up in after getting older. As a kid, this was all he talked about. He lived in a little town with his mother and father. Their names were Mr. and Mrs. Columbus. Everybody thought Chris was off his cookie. Like the neighbors were teasing. They'd come by and lean over the fence. He'd be there in the yard. And they'd say, Christopher Columbus, what are you going to do when you grow up? And he'd say, I'm going to discover America. They'd say, you better cut that out. You know there isn't any America. You know the world is square. Chris would say, they sure are. At 35, he'd gotten out of grammar school. He arranged an audience with the Queen, Queen Isabel Johnson. That was the Queen's name. And she asked him about this America project, and Chris tells her, if I don't discover America, there's not going to be a Benjamin Franklin, or a Star-Spangled Banner in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and no Ray Charles. When the Queen heard no Ray Charles, she panicked. The Queen said, Ray Charles? You gonna find Ray Charles? He in America? Chris is damn right. That's where all those records come from. So the Queen's running through the halls of the castle screaming, Chris gonna find Ray Charles, honey. He gone to America on that boat. What you say? She wrote him out a traveler's check. Chris ran the local Army-Navy store. He bought 3 used ships, 2 pair of fatigues, some shades. Then he got his supplies for the trip. He got 2 chicken sandwiches, 3 cans of Vienna sausage, 5 cases of scotch, and a small 7-Up. Then he got a new rag to tie his head with, too. He's ready to leave. He's ready to leave. All the photographers and the reporters are at the pier to see him off. All the girls are there. They're all screaming, goodbye, Columbus. He gone on that boat. He gone to America. Isabel was there, and she'd had a few. Isabel saying, Chris gonna find Ray Charles. Chris said, be cool, Isabel, be cool. Then he turns to the first mate. He says, weigh anchor. About 10 minutes later, the guy says, 7,482 pounds. Chris said, put the anchor in the boat. Don't weigh it. Just put, y'all don't even know how to weigh the anchor. We had gotten out of the harbor. The first mate asked, Chris, which way is America? Chris said, I don't know. We're going to have to sail around and we bump into it. So we better go this way. If we go that way, we'll sail off the edge like them other guys. 100 days later, the men are ready to mutiny. Chris has been goofing. He's been going through a bit like, back up, make a right, watch out for the edge. First mate said, come here, Chris. Come here. He said, Chris, the men are ready to mutiny. The cabin boy said that if you don't find America in 2 days, he's going to smack you in the mouth. Right then, a piece of wood floats by the ship. Chris said, there's a piece of wood. So we're not far from America. That's American wood. He said, I know American wood when I see it. First mate said, why don't you cut that out? It's a piece of the ship. They're breaking up on us. Right then, the guy in the mast yells, land ho! Chris said, what does that mean? Well, so that means he sees land. Chris said, well, pull over. Maybe that's America. You're going to pass right by it. You guys don't even know America when you see it. He said, that is America. He said, look at all those spacious skies. Those amber waves of grain. He said, dig that purple mountain's majesty. I bet there's fruit out there on the plain. It's a big holiday in America that day. Big holiday called Not Having Been Discovered Yet Day. All the Indians on the beach there celebrating. They got sandwiches, 6-packs, 3 or 4 bags of whatever it is they put in the pipe. Chris leans over the rail of the ship. He says, hey, yo! Yo! Where is this? Fine little Indian girl. Fine little Indian. Fine little West Indian girl. Standing there on the beach. She said, why? What's your name? The hell you want? Come around here in them ships. She said, my name's Christopher Columbus. I'm out discovering. So I'm gonna discover America. I'm gonna discover y'all. Little Indian girl said, we don't want to be discovered. You can't discover nobody if they don't want to be discovered. You better discover your ass away from me. First mate said, Chris, they're hostile. Chris said, yeah, and they mad, too. He said, but we're going in there anyway. That's America. They can't keep us out of there. America belongs to everybody. Let down the longboat. And they let down the longboat, which was really a short boat on the side of the big boat. They called it the longboat because they had a peewee boat, but they weren't going to use that. And they piled into shore, and they're heading into the boat, and the men are laying down because the Indians are throwing rocks and spears and flaming arrows and tree trunks, yelling out a bunch of profanity about Chris's mother and everything. First mate said, Chris, we better not go in there. Those Indians are crazy. Chris said, turn the boat around. We'll leave. We'll make a map and give it to the Pilgrims. Pilgrims will fix their ass. You meet a lot of nice people, you know, traveling from city to city. Like a few weeks ago, a lady came in, caught the show. After the show, she spent a few minutes chatting with the entertainers. And she says, come by the house. Let me fix a home-cooked meal for you. You can get away from eating in the restaurants. Fine gesture. I accept. I go by. Lady has a couple of kids. I get there a little late. She's already fed the kids. She's running their bath. She said generally she gives them their bath. They watch television, then into bed. Television doesn't work. Kids don't know. They sit there waiting for it to light up. When they fall asleep, she puts them in bed. 3 years the television hasn't worked. What strikes me as unusual is she runs the water in the tub, and she puts the boy and the girl in the tub together. I'm watching this. I said, damn. Boy and the girl in the tub together. I'm surprised. I was 25 before I got in on a set like this. They're standing there in the tub, look at each other. She goes back into the kitchen. I sneak behind the door. I'm going to watch. I'm watching through the crack in the door. And the girl says to her brother, what's that? And he said, where? She said, right there. He said, I don't know. She said, what's it for? He said, I told you I don't know. She said, can I touch it? He said, heck no, you broke yours off already. Yeah, I think it's a nice thing having fans, you know that? My uncle told me about the value of what it is to have fans. My uncle was an entertainer. He was a comic, too. My uncle was a part of a team. You know, he was around during the old days of the teams. You know, when the teams had the names like Off and On, and Up and Down, and Over and Under, and Stop and Go. My uncle belonged to a comedy team called Well Enough and Bad Enough. And they were doing all right. Then Bad Enough got married. My uncle started working alone. He was doing well enough. He told me about an incident that took place. He was in Chicago. He was in Chicago for a one-nighter. And he was in Chicago for one nighter. After the show, he decided that instead of leaving out right then, he'd spend the night and leave in the morning. That's a good time to leave if you're going to spend the night. No sense leaving before in the morning. So he said he checked into a hotel. Cheap hotel. Cheap hotel. Uncle said, that sure was a cheap hotel. That was the name of the hotel. Cheap Hotel. Had a big sign out front blinking on and off. Cheap, cheap, cheap. My uncle was afraid of risking spending a night in a room in a cheap hotel with $400 in his pocket. So he said to the desk clerk, would you hold this $400 till in the morning? I'll pick it up when I come down. And the guy said, yeah. When he comes down in the morning, he says to the guy, I'd like to get my $400 back. The fellow said, you didn't give me any money. Uncle says, you're the same guy who was here last night when I checked in, right? The fellow said, that's right. We only got one desk clerk. That's why this is such a cheap hotel. He said, but you didn't give me any money. My uncle tells him, look, you can't take my money like this and get away with it. And the guy says, you never know what you can do until you try. So my uncle tells him, he said, look, if you don't give me my money back, I'm going to hit you right in the mouth. And the guy said, violence is the tool of the ignorant. When he said that, my uncle leaped at him with the fury of 1,000 jungle beasts. You just saw that in the picture yesterday. Thought I'd throw that in. He leaped at him, the fellow stepped aside, he fell. And the guy kicked him in the face. When the guy kicked him in the face, he saw a baseball bat in the corner. So he ran, grabbed the bat, and he raised the bat like he was going to hit the guy with it. And the fellow threw a cup of hot coffee in his face. And he grabbed his face. You'd grab your face, somebody throws him hot coffee. He grabbed his face, and the fellow grabbed the bat. He said the guy beat him with the bat about an hour and a half. He said he didn't remember how long the guy beat him because when the fellow raised the bat, he passed out. But he distinctly remembered that when he woke up, the fellow was standing over and making some more coffee. He ran out the door and found a policeman. He brought the officer back. They had the guy arrested. Now, ironically, when the thing came up in court, the judge had been at the show the night before and seen my uncle work. He was a fan of my uncle's. The judge walks in and he said, well enough. How you doing? They shook hands, you know. And the judge said, what's the trouble? He said, look, while I'm taking care of the case, you signed a couple autograph pictures for my wife and my kid. They loved you. They loved you. So now what's the problem here? And the judge listened to the entire case. And when it reached the time for the decision, the judge told the defendant, he said, look, I don't want you to think that the fact that I admire this great man here is going to influence my giving a just decision here. But it's the decision of the court that you return to this man the $400 that you took. And that you give him an extra $200 for damages. And that for the next 10 years, he'll get to stay in your hotel for free room and board, for nothing. In addition to which, the court sentences you to 90 days in jail. And the guy said, Your Honor, how come you're being so hard on me? And the judge said, because I'm trying to teach you to leave well enough alone. Can't wait till Sunday. I go to church every Sunday. I have a very strong religious background. I go to church. I go, like, I'm in different cities. I go to different churches. Last week I went to a beautiful little church uptown. It was nice little, and they charge $1 to get in. You know, very nice. You pay that $1, they give you a sandwich, something like that, and then they have a little group there that plays. The group does a 40-minute set, then Rev comes on, does 20 minutes. And, like, Rev opened the service by passing the plate. Plate shot around the room, came back, nothing in it. Rev said, y'all, there's nothing in the plate. I said, if I didn't, I lost money coming down here. So I'm going to send the plate back out there again and give y'all a chance to clean this up. Plate shot around the room, came back, nothing again. Rev said, now, brothers and sisters, we can't make it like this. So now I'm sure that everybody here wants this church to progress. If this church is going to progress, first, it's got to crawl. This church has got to crawl. And the congregation yelled, let it crawl, Rev. Let it crawl. Rev said, and after this church has crawled, it's got to stand up and walk. And the members yelled, make it walk, Rev. Make it walk. Rev said, and after this church has walked, it's got to run. This church has got to run. And the members yelled, make it run, Rev. Make it run. Rev said, for this church to run, it's going to take money. And the members yelled, let it crawl, Rev, let it crawl. Well, I find that I got just enough time left to say that I'd like a big hand when I finish. When I finish. I'd like a big hand. Generally, entertainers would be reluctant to say to the audience that they'd like a big hand. All of them want a big hand. Damn right, I want a big hand. Sammy Davis and Frank Sinatra want a big hand and $10,000 a night, too. Y'all can split up the money. All I'm asking for is a little old... All I want is a little old jive big hand. If I came on your job and I could do you a favor, I'd do it. If you was a cab driver, I wouldn't rob you. If I was a cloud, I wouldn't rain on your parade. What the hell? I want to make it very clear, I'm not begging for applause. I'm not begging for that. Wouldn't be right. I never infringe upon your right to decide for yourself whether you like me or not. If you didn't intend to applaud, don't applaud. Keep your damn hands to yourself. What I'm saying is that if you did intend applauding, I'd like a big hand. Okay. Yeah. More of what? Yeah. Fine. Okay. Just kicking around. I had a wild thought the other afternoon. Visualize a very modest residential area. Fellow drives into the area, pulls up in front of a very nice home there, takes us out the shake case, walks up to the house, knocks at the door. A man answers the door. Fellow says, good afternoon, sir. I'm conducting a confidential survey, and I'd like to inquire as to whether your wife would object to her daughter marrying a Negro. Fellow said, she's upstairs. Just a minute, I'll ask her. Said, hey, Ethel! Hey, Ethel! Would you mind if our daughter married a Negro? And Ethel's reply is, she can marry anybody she wants.